It is exactly 8:45 a.m. News and views on Salam Media, and we're going to be speaking with energy expert Chris Yelland. And let's look at the issue around Eskom's national dialogue, which convened its ordinary session on January the 20th, virtually, obviously, and outline its terms of references and purpose for the Eskom national dialogue. The dialogue was comprised of current and former Eskom engineers, civil society organizations, industry professionals, energy experts, as well as political parties. Another talk shop, or has something really solid come out of this? A very good morning to you, Chris Yellen. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Yes, I do think the time for engagements and consultations and conferencing on electricity is over. The president consulted extensively before he announced his emergency plan. In this last week, the president, put off his trip to Davos and consulted again extensively. And there's one thing our president is known for is his extensive consultation. But I think it goes a bit too far sometimes, and it's time now for executive action. So I'm a little bit cynical about further engagements and consultations with different stakeholders, etc. It really is time for action now.
So, Chris, do you think anything at all, anything of substance had come out of this national dialogue? Can we, as citizens, long-suffering citizens, I might add, regarding these blackouts, can we hope for something more tangible and more positive? And then I also want to touch on the president's speech yesterday suggesting that Eskom scraps or possibly puts on hold the 18.5 increase that was granted by NERSA. Yeah. So let's talk about this national dialogue. Yeah. And if the president did not call for the scrapping or the holding of that increase, would we have had some sort of a pushback from civil society, just downright refusing to pay that increase? So let's start with the session first.
Yeah. I think we must not get ourselves into a feeling of helplessness, that there is nothing that we can do, that this is all beyond everybody's control, and really sink into this helpless feeling. I know we sometimes do feel helpless at times, but the reality is that this level of load shedding is not normal, and we must not accept it as normal, and we must fight it. There are very, very few countries in the world that have load shedding at the kind of level that we have it at. And that indicates that, there is things that can be done, that should be done, that have to be done, and we just need to do it. I believe there are solutions. I believe we have to do the right thing for a long time. I don't think the solutions are going to be quick, because it took a long time getting to where we are, and it's going to take a long time digging us out of this hole. So we need to hold people to account. We need to hold government to account, because a lot of the issues we face are not simply Eskom issues. They go well beyond that into the electricity supply industry, the electricity distribution industry, right from policy issues, politics and policy issues, through to regulatory issues, through to planning issues, structural issues in the sectors that we're talking about, that's the electricity supply industry. And we've been talking about these things for 30 years. It's time now to get on with it and do things. And we shouldn't feel helpless. Moving on to this issue of the price increase that was determined by NERSA recently, 18.5% on the 1st of April this year, 12.5% next year, same time. Look, we're in a situation of high tension in South Africa, a lot of politicking as the lead up to the ANC elected conference now progresses further to various party conferences around the country and in the build up to the elections next year. So there is a lot of populist rhetoric coming out of the ruling party because of the political kickback and implications of their failure to deal with load shedding for all these years. So we saw the president's comments that he's asked Eskom politely to kindly consider, holding off this price increase for a period. He's entitled to ask Eskom, but he can't force Eskom to do this. It was an award by the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, which is an independent statutory body. And if you want to challenge their ruling, you have to take it to court, to take it on review. Not even the president, not the minister can overturn NERSA's determination. Of course, Eskom can grant a stay of an increase, but Eskom is in a very dire financial position. And any delay in the price increase is going to mean that there will need to be a bigger government bailout, to compensate for the loss of revenue from the tariff. It means that the revenue will have to come from the fiscus, which means the taxpayer, which means you and I. So whichever way happens, we either pay through the tariff, or we pay through increased bailouts which come from the taxpayer, and we're the taxpayers.
Okay, we've talked long and hard. This has been an absolute continuous dialogue from day one regarding the Eskom saga and the rolling blackouts here in South Africa, not only on this platform, but all media platforms. I think people are so tired now. Let's just take a step back. Let's understand, who is NERSA serving? Is it the taxpayer? Is it the government? Is it to regulate electricity issues in the country? And at the end of the day, who is the big time winner as far as NERSA is concerned? Because I've heard all sorts of stories about the directors and the role players at NERSA having, having interests in a whole host of entities where they seem to be enriching themselves. I could be wrong, but that's what the press is telling us. That's what we're hearing. We're hearing all around us.
Yeah. So let's just talk about the regulated NERSA. In the electricity supply industry, we have a de facto monopoly. Eskom generates something like 95% of electricity in South Africa. And municipalities are also geographic monopolies. So in your particular area where you live, you're served by either Eskom, which is a monopoly, or you're served by a municipality, and you don't have a choice to get your electricity from anybody else, but the municipality that you live in. So these are de facto monopolies. And the purpose of the regulator is to take into account also the interests of customers in this unequal power relationship. So there's certainly one of the roles of NERSA is to serve the interests of customers of electricity and the general citizens. But in so doing, it also has to take into account the sustainability of the electricity suppliers, that is the municipalities and Eskom. So they have to balance the interests of customers with the interests of the utility. It's no good, putting in prices so low to serve the interests of customers that it makes the suppliers unsustainable and they can't carry on their business, and therefore the customers will eventually lose out. So it's important that they perform this balancing role. NERSA also has a number of other roles in respect of, for example, quality of supply and dispute resolution between suppliers and customers and suppliers. But look, NERSA has had incidences where there have been conflicts of interests and identified malfeasance. But I do not believe that it is generally prevalent at NERSA. I think it's not a NERSA condition. It's a human condition, and humans fail sometimes, more often than not. But I don't think we can just tar NERSO as a corrupt organization that is self-serving, the directors or the board members of Eskom. I think that would be a step way too far.
Okay, let's leave it there. I do need to talk to you about a whole host of other issues, car
Yes,
powership. I
yes.
need to talk to you about, is South Africa ready, or the majority of South Africans, or those that can afford to go off the grid? What does that mean for them, and what would it look like? But we don't have time for it today. Hopefully, I will talk to you later in the week on those issues.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Chris, thank you always for being available and really, opening our minds to this crisis that we're in. God bless. Till the next time, as always.
Thank you so much.
8:56 News and Views on Salam Media. We're going to be talking with, I think it is Dr. Faisal Suleiman. He's the chairperson of SAMNET, and we're going to be talking about bursaries. So please do stay with us.